I'm just making sure that we are all set up. Hi, everyone. I can see. Great. People now in the room, on the chat. Fantastic. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. Let me know if you can't hear me. I'm hoping there are no problems. All good?
Jackie, we would like your video back on. We are not able to see your video.
Oh. Okay, hold on one moment. Can you see me now? Yeah, you should all be able to see me now. Great. All right, apologies about that. Thank you all. And I'm going to get started with this webinar today. So I'm not sure how many of you that I have engaged with, but some of you may know me. My name is Jackie Lawrence, and I'm one of the career coaches at Udacity. And today I'd like to welcome you all to the presentation, which is called How to Build Self-Confidence for a Career Change. So like I said, my name is Jackie Lawrence, and you know, when it comes to a career change, it's actually a major decision that you're making, and it takes a lot of effort, thought and planning. And as you progress along the path, there will be times you may seriously question and consider whether you're doing the right thing and if you truly have the ability to make the career shift. So today's webinar, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss what is self-confidence, how a lack of self-confidence can hold you back from reaching your potential in your chosen field of work. We will then go through some of the important areas where the ability to express yourself confidently can be key to your success. Then look at steps you can take to develop your self-confidence in those areas. Just to give you a bit of background on the format of the session, I'm going to talk for about 40 to 45 minutes, and then there will be time for Q&As. In the meantime, while I'm doing the session, everyone will be muted to avoid background noise as we go along. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. I also have my co-host Mira from Udacity here with me to assist me with managing this webinar and the chat box. So you've probably seen her. She's been saying hi to everyone in the chat box. So without further ado, let's get started. So moving on to start a little background about me. As I mentioned before, I'm a career coach at Udacity, but I'm also a business strategy and development coach, helping individuals and organizations to achieve their business, career, and policy goals, helping them to unblock any issues, untangle themselves, and to be able to get to where they need to in their business and their careers. Prior to being a coach, I actually spent 15 years working as a lawyer in the financial services industry. So I worked for banks, I worked in law firms, I've worked with senior teams, and I've also worked with junior teams. I've worked globally, Dubai, USA. So I take along with me to my coaching practice all my skills that I've gained, a lot of them transferable skills, a word you probably heard a lot about recently, and I bring them all with me along with my coaching tools and skills to coaching and development. So without further ado, let's move on and let's go through today's agenda. So you can see the various topics that we are going to cover today, and this includes, excuse me. What is self-confidence? How a lack of self-confidence can hold you back, taking control of your self-confidence, communicating with confidence, looking confident, what does your body language say about you, building up confidence for interviews, confidence in the workplace, and then finally, we'll have some time for Q&As. So, just to get you all warmed up and started, we're going to start this session off with a poll. And I'll be interested to know your thoughts on this question. So self-confidence, you either have it or you don't. How do you feel about this statement? Do you, number one, think it's true? self-confidence is something you're born with? Or do you think, number two, it's a myth, you're not born with it, self-confidence is a trait that can be built up over time? Three, do you think it's partly true? If you're born with it, you can develop it. Or number four, are you unsure? So let me know your thoughts. Oh, wow. Yeah, they're coming in. Good. Keep them coming. Great. Oh, I can see the poll changing. There are a lot of you going through on number two. Yep, give it a couple more seconds for you. Okay. Okay, there's 71%. Yep. Bit more of you. Almost there. See if we can get it up to 100% voting on this. Okay. Any more? Okay, we'll give it a couple more seconds and then we're going to close this poll. Great. Okay. Thanks, Maria. Let's close this poll. So, results in number two, at least 65% of you believe it's a myth. You're not born with it. Self-confidence is a trait that can be built up over time. 35% of you think it's partly true. If you're born with it, you can develop it. And 5% of you are unsure. Well, those of you who are in the 65% category, it's a myth, you're absolutely correct. Right? Self-confidence is not something you're born with. We can all develop it. Okay, we may develop it at different paces, but we can all develop it. So what is self-confidence? Well, basically, self-confidence is something that's been debated and discussed by a number of researchers. And in order for consistency, I'm going to go with the definition from the Psychology Dictionary online, and it defines self-confidence as our self-assurance in trusting our abilities, capacities, and judgment, the belief that we can meet the demands of tasks. In other words, to be self-confident is to trust in your own abilities and believe that we can do what we set our minds to do. So, there you go, one of the definitions of self-confidence. It's there, trusting in yourself and believing your own skills, your own goals and abilities to succeed. And the thing with that is when you actually believe in yourself, you're more likely to take action, grab opportunities that come your way, and when the going gets tough, you persevere because you trust your instincts. Now, self-confidence is not a static measure. Nobody is self-confident 100% of the time. We all sit on a barometer, and our confidence to perform roles and tasks and deal with situations can increase and decrease depending on our situation and our environment. Some days we feel more confident than others, and for some of us, it just means that we have to work a little harder in order to get our confidence level up. But ultimately, none of us are born with it, and all of us can develop it over time. So let's look at next slide. What zone are you in? Okay, this is a comfort zone chart. So I'd like you all to spend a minute or two just looking at it and think about which inner circle are you sitting in, or where do you spend more than 50% of your time? Which color? Please type in the chat box. Which zone do you sit in also depends on your environment. If you work remotely, maybe you sit in the comfort zone. If you change roles and have to go into an office a couple of times a week, you may move into the fear zone. So let's have your thoughts. Anybody brave enough to let us know what you're thinking? The comfort zone, red. The fear zone, orange. Learning zone, yellow. And the growth zone, green. To a certain extent, you all are in definitely the yellow, otherwise you wouldn't be learning at Udacity. But ultimately, we all do often flit between red and orange. So some of you may now be sitting in the red zone, some of you may be sitting in the orange zone, and some of you may actually feel quite comfortable and feel that you're in the yellow zone. Ultimately, your goal and your aim is to move from the red zone over to the green zone, the growth zone, and manage yourself in terms of when you see yourself in that comfort zone, stepping out into that fear zone, across to the learning and the growth zone. So moving on to the next slide, we now have another poll for you. So what shapes your confidence? Is it not being prepared, a lack of experience, other people, or all of the above? So we're going to give you another minute or two to let us know what shakes your confidence. For some people, it's because they feel they're not prepared enough. For some people, they feel that they just don't have the right amount of experience to do a particular task or project. For some people, it's other people. How other people may perceive them shakes their confidence. What other people may think about them shakes their confidence. Or for some of you, it could be a combination of all of the above. So we're going to give you another minute or two and just let us know your thoughts. Okay, it's looking interesting. Okay, a number of you, this is almost tying, very interesting. Okay, we're almost there. 90% in, brilliant. We'll give it another minute or two, another couple of seconds actually. 95% of you are there with your vote. Excellent. Okay, Mira, will end the poll there. So what shapes your confidence? So the first thing, what everybody has actually opted for is not being prepared. 42% of you have said not being prepared shapes your confidence. Next, 37% of you have actually said all of the above. So it's actually a combination of not being prepared, lack of experience, and other people's thoughts about you or other people around you that shapes your confidence. In third place, lack of experience, and last but not least, other people. And actually that's quite interesting because that's more or less what I expected to see. And as we move on through the rest
Jackie,
of
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. I think we have 37 participants and only 19 have responded. It'll be really good if the other participants also respond, because it gives good data point to understand and help us to develop more workshops and webinars in line with what we see. So we would highly encourage all the students who have not participated in the poll to please vote. We can give one more minute for that, and I'll put up the poll back on the screen.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mira. So yeah, it would, as Mira's just said, it'd be absolutely fantastic if we could have more of you. Some more people waiting to come into the room. Let me admit them. Apologies. So it will be absolutely fantastic if we could have a few more votes coming in. Any more? Okay, great. I see him coming in. Fantastic. Keep it coming. Remember, all of these polls are anonymous, okay? Nobody's going to know what you've clicked, so they're all anonymous. Now, what shakes your confidence? Think about it. And
That's great. We can see the number increasing now. Yeah, earlier they were 19, and we can see now they're 25, and it's going increasing. We still seem to be having 10 more at least students.
Good. Oh, somebody else to admit.
So we have 25 out of 36 who have voted. We still seem to be having at least 10 more students who haven't yet voted. So yeah, Mohammed, we will be taking it afresh. The last result will not be taken into consideration. So it will be only independent. So this is like the fresh one. Once we have at least 30 students voted, that will be the voting. Brilliant. Thanks for that, Mohammed.
Thank you, Mira.
All right, we have 28. Come on, guys, we could do a little more. Yes, 29. Give us one more and we can move on. Fantastic. We have 30.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. I think it's okay, Jackie. We'll move on. Yeah, I'm ending the
Okay.
poll now. Thank you, students.
Thank you very much for all of those who have participated. Yeah, we've got 30 votes in. And again, I'm going to reread the response. Very close call. Not being prepared still comes out on top with 40% of you acknowledging that not being prepared shakes your confidence. Lack of experience, 37%. All of the above, 30% of you have come in and said not being, well, all of the above in some way or some form shakes your confidence. And 13% of you, it's all about other people. Other people shake your confidence. And, you know, not being prepared, I think, is very much one that shapes a lot of our confidence. Even for myself, I will say not being prepared definitely is one that shapes my confidence. And I see a thumbs up. Yeah, definitely. And as we go through this, we are actually going to look at some of these points in terms of how a lack of confidence in these areas can hold you back. So let's look at how a lack of confidence now holds you back. So if you're feeling any of these, you know, what does it mean? What does it mean? Well, when we lack confidence, we adopt certain types of behaviors as a protection measure. This measure, we just use it to keep us safe from exposure. But in reality, these type of behaviors actually hold us back from reaching our true potential. For example, failing to speak up at meetings or voice your opinion. How many times have you been in a meeting or a situation where you said to yourself, he or she said what I was going to say, but you didn't speak up, so nobody knows how you think or what you have to offer? The issue with this is that you run the risk of being invisible in your organization. And when it comes to times for promotions and new job opportunities, you increase the risk of being looked over because people just don't know what you have to offer because you never put your thoughts or your views forward. Another way how lack of confidence can hold you back is sometimes it makes it difficult for you to communicate assertively. You end your sentences with questions. You may use qualifying words such as kind of, sort of, and these words minimize the effect of what you're saying. Your discomfort with being assertive may lead you to talk too much after you make a strong statement instead of remaining quiet and waiting for others to give their input. Another big one is fear of failure if you step outside your remit. This will keep you in your comfort zone where you feel safe. You know what you're doing at work, you're used to it. In some respects, sometimes we all go on autopilot. There are some things that we are so used to doing, we feel comfortable and we can almost do them with our eyes closed. However, when we get too cozy in this remit, and this is where you're in, we look at the zone. You know, when I asked you what zone are you in, this is where you're sitting in that red zone. You're feeling really comfortable and you really don't want to step out. And the problem is that this can actually prevent you from applying for certain positions or seeking stretch assignments, because in your mind you're thinking, oh, you know, what's the point of going for that? Well, there's no need, I'm doing okay here. But you know, when you want to change careers, when you've decided in your mind, you know, for some reason you're not happy with where you are, you may feel that actually, yes, you want to stretch, but you're not sure what steps to take to do it, you're going to have to step outside your comfort zone. The other thing that it can cause you to do is to spend a lot of time questioning what you are saying and doing. The time you spend questioning yourself could be spent in a more productive way. You get this inner dialogue which might keep you from taking positive action, not only on behalf of yourself, but on behalf of others. Now, going back and thinking about the poll where a number of you had clicked that other people shape your confidence. This is where you may spend more time focusing on what other people are saying and doing rather than what your own potential and competence is. You worry that everyone is smarter than you or more successful. This focus on others is a distraction and depletes the positive energy you need to focus on your ambition and reach your objectives. A combination of the above can affect your ability to reach your full potential in your work or life. And even if you have one of the above, it can impact your ability to move forward and help you to get to where you really want to be. So let's move on. Next slide, saying, share your thoughts. Lack of confidence. Do any of you resonate with these behaviours? I think some of you have more or less said so in terms of the poll that we looked at. But do you identify with these behaviours? Any thoughts? How are you feeling? Can you see yourself? Yeah, I'm sure some of you can. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll move on to what can you do about it? Taking control of your self-confidence. What are you going to do to take control? Well, lack of confidence affects your decision-making abilities, especially when you're in high stress situations. So you really need to keep it in check so that you can make decisions with a clear mind. Taking control starts with self-awareness. The more self-aware you become, the more you start to recognize negative habits that you self-consciously built up to cope with a lack of confidence. Start listening to your thoughts. The next time you start to feel a lack of confidence or self-doubt, ask yourself, why do I feel this way? What is fundamentally going on in my head to make me react the way that I do? Take time out for yourself and start breaking down your thought processes to find the root cause for your actions and behaviors. For some of you, you may want to start writing a journal about yourself, analyzing why you have such negative thoughts. And when these thoughts come up, what you're trying to do is you're trying to identify the trigger. What is it that's triggering these thoughts and these feelings within you? What's happening immediately before this sort of lack of confidence starts to well up within you, these feelings, these emotions? Then, at the same time, whilst you've also identified these triggers, you want to think about things that you do well, things that you like. You also want to think about limitations. When you say to yourself, I can't do this or I can't go for that, why are those limitations there? Are they real or ones you've allowed to be placed there? If you really thought through some of these limitations, maybe you'll realize that they aren't actually limitations, but you just need to find a way through them. So, thinking about, again, strategies to help you build self-confidence. Bad news is there's no quick fix to building self-confidence. There's no 5-minute or 10-minute solution. However, the good news is that you can increase your self-confidence by having the focus and determination to carry things through. So, what can you do to build your self-confidence? Well, here are some steps that you can take. Moving on to the next slide, thank you. You can create an achievement log. Think about your life so far and list 10 of the best things you've achieved. Remind yourself of the success you've already had. Look at your strengths. Think about your strengths. Use a technique like a SWOT analysis. Now, some of you may be familiar with SWOT analysis. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's a tool. SWOT is a tool used by businesses to analyze their processes, procedures, and competitors. However, they can also be used in a personalized way to help you spot opportunities you didn't know existed. So when it comes to strengths, what you need to do, or what you might want to think about doing, is make a list of these. Think about what skills or tasks that are your strong points, your unique selling points, but also think about all those tasks others say you are good at. And don't just restrict it to the workplace. There will be things maybe that you do outside. You might be good at certain games, at doing other activities and hobbies. List them all. Weaknesses. What tasks do you avoid because you don't feel confident doing them? What are your negative work habits or traits that can hold you back? Opportunities. Is there a way that you can build an opportunity for yourself by taking advantage of your strengths or eliminating weaknesses? Is your industry growing? There may be an opportunity there. Threats. List threats that might be standing in the way of your goals. What obstacles are you facing at work or challenges? Think about them. What challenges are there in transitioning to a new role for you? List these. You need to identify them in order to tackle them. What problems could your weaknesses cause if you don't address them? Then, think about what actions you're going to take to minimize threats and weaknesses, which in turn will increase your confidence. Learn to celebrate and develop your strengths and find ways to improve or manage your weaknesses. Now, there's a whole sort of exercise and a matrix that goes around doing this exercise. So if you'd like to learn more about SWOTs or go into them into more detail, feel free to book a session with a career coach who can talk you through this process in more detail and work with you on it. So let's look at some other things that you can do. Well, you can work on small things, goal setting. People make the mistake of starting with big projects or tasks, which can be overwhelming and daunting. And if you do have a big project or task you're working on, I suggest breaking them down into smaller chunks. Setting small or attainable goals and getting into the habit of setting them and achieving them. This constant sort of meeting the challenges that you set yourself, it doesn't matter how small they are, they help build your confidence incrementally. And gradually then you can start to build up to larger goals. Okay? And you won't feel as fearful because you started to conquer small things. It may be 5-minute, 10-minute goal, but get into the habit of just setting and achieving goals. Now, this one may seem strange to you, but I don't know how many of you work with a clear desk. So it might seem like an amazingly small thing, but cluttered desk, cluttered mind. And when we've got a lot going on in our mind, sometimes it's really difficult to feel confident because we start to feel that our emotions, our thoughts, our workload is getting out of control. And we need to feel a way to feel back in control again. So having a clear desk often helps you to declutter your mind. I know that when I worked in the corporate world, we had a clear desk policy. And I'm sure many of you may also have a clear desk policy where you work. Get into the act of doing. The first time we do something we've never done before will bring out our fear factor to the forefront. But in order to progress, you need to take a leap of faith. When in the work environment or meetings, rather than worrying you won't say the right thing or being concerned about what other people think, ask questions, listen and respond in an objective way. Ultimately, this is all about you building up your confidence. Don't worry about what other people are thinking and doing, just worry and focus on yourself. So what else can you do? Leave your comfort zone. You have no idea how resilient you are until you make it a point to know. Be willing to take some risks. Don't look at risks as negatives, but rather as learning opportunities. You know, sometimes the fear factor of just doing something and thinking, I'll make a mistake. Well, yeah, sometimes we do make mistakes. We all learn from our mistakes. So don't worry about it. Next, this is one that's going to be challenging for some of you, but work on your mindset. Positive thinking. Eliminate those negative thoughts. If you believe that you can achieve something, then you will be able to do so. But you need to be aware of that self-talk, that inner voice that might say to you, I've never done this before, or I'm not sure I can do this. And if you're saying it out loud, try to learn to correct it. Positive affirmations are things that you can do to help you to grow your mindset. When you've got this fixed mindset of, I can't do this, I've never done this, and you put a lot of negatives in the way, it's almost like a wall, a barrier that prevents you from moving forward. So with positive affirmations, there's research to say that when you repeat something enough times that it gets within you, that it actually helps to build up your faith and confidence that you can do it. So rather than saying, I've never done this before, not sure I can do it, try replacing it with thoughts or with words saying, I'm open to trying something new, and I'm confident that I can learn from this experience, whatever the outcome. If you find it challenging to communicate assertively, tell yourself, I'm confident in my ability to communicate clearly and directly to others. Next, empower yourself with knowledge. Often our lack of confidence is due to our lack of knowledge. We feel that we don't know enough about our subject, so we are unsure of whether or not we can do something. By becoming more knowledgeable in a particular area, you'll become more confident and feel competent at doing something. Set aside time to research, study, and practice in the area where you want to become more competent. It's not just going to happen overnight. You're going to have to put some work into it. So that's how you can start, and some of the things you can look at to help start to build up your confidence. Moving on to communicating with confidence. Your voice is an instrument, and that's exactly how you should look at your voice. There are two sides to building confidence. Although the ultimate aim is to feel more confident within yourself and your abilities, it's also worth considering how you can appear more confident to other people. What you say, how you say it, transmits a great deal about your level of confidence. We often struggle to articulate our thoughts clearly when we lack confidence. So, learn to speak slowly. When you're in a meeting, when you're in an interview scenario, when you're at a meetup even, think about the pace of your speech. We often speak quickly when we are nervous. A person in authority speaks slowly and actually gives off a vibe of confidence. Think about your tone of voice. High-pitched voices are often said to indicate nervousness, that kind of squeaky high-pitched voice. Vary your pitch and your tone. Make your conversations interesting by injecting variety and avoid sounding monotone. Try to avoid non-words. Those words such as they're called filler phrases. That's what they call them. Project your voice. Speak at an audible volume. Make yourself easily heard and understood. And this is particularly important for those of you who do phone interviews. There's nothing worse than an interviewer constantly having to ask you to speak up or trying to decipher what you're saying. Make it easier for them. There's a couple of one or two, extra ones that I thought I'd mention. Express ideas respectfully. We can all be in situations or scenarios where things can get a bit heated. If you're engaging with someone, whether in a work setting, meetup, or forum, where views may be expressed which you don't agree with, rather than keep silent, you can still be assertive and stick to your principles and values. You can put your view across by expressing, I see this a little differently, and then going into your view or your perspective. Or you might say to the other person, help me to understand your reason for thinking, and then expand. If you get into the scenarios and you're feeling stressed, remember to just take a deep breath and take it slow. Just slow down, deep breaths, until you can regain your thoughts and regain your emotions and your confidence. So, moving on to looking confident. So, what does your body language say about you? Our body language can signal to people around us exactly how we are feeling. We unconsciously move in a way that reflects our mental state. Confident body language can change the way people perceive you. So, be aware of your overall manner. How you behave will transmit a feeling of confidence to others. Posture. If you're standing up, research has shown that when people stand tall in a position of strength, their inner feelings begin to change. The idea is that you're supposed to sort of stand tall and imagine you've got a string at the top of your head pulling you up so that your posture remains upright. Avoid standing in a submissive position. So that's with your legs crossed, your arms folded in front of you. That's considered to be more of a submissive position. When you're sitting, remember to sit with your back straight, feet planted on the floor firmly. This is seen to be a good sitting posture. If while I'm talking to you here, you all saw me go like this, and slumped, it wouldn't project a very confident view of what I'm saying. You'd all be thinking, well, why is she hiding? Why is she sort of slumped? So think about it. Be confident in how you project yourself. You may not feel it. So you probably all heard about fake it until you make it. Well, do what you've got to do. You may not feel it inward, but it all starts with how you're projecting yourself outwardly. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next slide. Facial expressions. Research indicates that 80% or at least 80% of communication comes non-verbally. Facial expressions convey a great deal of information, so be aware of your standard facial expression. Do you look stern? Do you get comments from friends and colleagues at work about your facial expressions? Be mindful of them. Also, be mindful of habits. For example, do you touch your face a lot while you speak, as this indicates anxiety or nervousness? Some of you might be fidgeters, not even aware that you're doing it. So do you fidget? Tap your foot on the ground or drum your fingers on the table. Pay attention to what triggers that fidgeting. Is it because you actually feel a bit of a sort of lack of confidence or nervousness or self-doubt welling up within you that you sort of start to move into fidget mode? Start becoming more self-aware of how you behave and in what situations and scenarios you're behaving like that. Sometimes these acts come across as a sign of nervousness, even when you don't intend them to. And you'll be in situations where it's the last thing you want to project, especially if your aim is to project and come off as confident. These movements can also take away the message you're trying to communicate to your audience and may distract people from getting to know you. If you do engage, sometimes people engage with their hands, and a lot of us do sort of this, and we're quite illustrative when we're talking and speaking, or animative when we're with friends and colleagues. Use open gestures. Keep your movements relaxed, using the palms of your hands, and it's often seen as I've got nothing to hide motions. So just remember, sometimes even though you're not speaking, you silently give off signals by the way that you move, and people can often be watching you in terms of your whole persona, not just how you're projecting yourself, but also what you do with your hands and your feet and your fingers. Learn to smile. Okay, confident people smile as they have nothing to hide. Okay. Let's move on to building confidence for an interview. Absolutely, absolutely key. Planning and preparation. Yeah. We often feel less confident about new or potentially difficult situations. So an important factor in developing confidence is planning and preparing for the unknown. Being able to react calmly to the unexpected is a sign of confidence. So when you're preparing for an interview, spend time thinking about the questions you may be asked. Practice your answers in front of a mirror, with friends or a career coach, and gain their feedback. Plan in advance about how you're going to travel there. How long will your journey take? What are you going to wear? Don't leave it till the last minute. For those of you who might be traveling by car, think about plan B. What happens if you get up in the morning to drive to that interview and your car won't start? What's your plan B? Don't leave it until the last minute. And I don't know if any of you have had that experience, but I'm sure if you have, you will know the way how it knocks your self-confidence when you're having to deal with this unexpected incident. Be mindful of how you come across while you're in the reception or waiting area. The interview begins as soon as you arrive in the building. Now, someone could be observing you before they actually come out and call you. So think about how you sit, how you're expressing yourself. Are you on your mobile phone? What are you doing? Just be aware of your surroundings and who could be watching. So moving next slide is visualize your success. Leading up to the interview, take some time to actually visualize the interview going well. Thinking about how you're going to project yourself, how you plan to walk in. Think about all the steps from the moment you get there. Start to visualize. sitting opposite the panel or the individual. If you've got an assessment to take, think about it and visualize it going well from the start. Remember to know your value. Remember your self-worth and what you can do for the company. Yes, you want a job, you want to transition into that field, but remember they've called you because clearly there's something that they've seen. There's some values, you have some skills that the organization sees that you could potentially be a good fit. So when you go there, know your value, what you're worth. And also think about context and timing. Don't be afraid of silence in interviews. If you're asked to describe a problem you solved, don't just launch into response. Frame your answer to the question, giving some context around it. So, how did the problem come about? What action did you take to solve it? How did you help resolve it? And what was the final outcome? If you rush through the situation too quickly, the interviewer may think that actually it wasn't a big deal to start with and won't give it the due value and consideration it's worth. So, let me get your thoughts. How much time do you spend preparing for interviews? Type a few words in the chat. How much time do you spend preparing for interviews? Do you prepare the night before? Do you prepare a couple of weeks before? How much time do you spend preparing? Let's know your thoughts. Okay. There isn't necessarily a correct amount of time, but I just want you to sort of really think about the amount of effort and time you're spending on your interviews. For some of you, it might be just not quite the role that you want, but nevertheless, even if it's not quite your ideal job, use it as practice, okay? Treat it as if you were going for that ideal role and prepare in exactly the same way and manner. So, confidence in the workplace, moving on to that. First impressions count, and they really do. So whether you are changing careers or starting a new job, working in a field you're familiar with, amongst the excitement, there's usually an element of nervousness about venturing into the unknown territory. Surveys have demonstrated a strong correlation between confidence and occupational success. Key thing is set the tone from the start, spread positive energy. Okay. Start by introducing yourself and getting to know the people around you. Don't hide away in a corner trying to figure everything out for yourself. Find out early on what everyone does. When you're new, everyone gives you a lot of leeway and understanding that you won't really know the processes and how things work around the office or wherever you are. So allow yourself to take advantage of that and try and absorb as much as you can around your new settings or in your workplace. Ask good questions. Show curiosity how or why something is being done so you can understand the process. In order to feel more confident in your new role, you not only need to understand what you do, but where you fit in the organizational structure. Which teams or departments are you most likely to engage with, and what do they do? So let's go on to some takeaway points for you. Takeaway points, remember achievements. Remind yourself of the successes you've already had. If you keep that log, when you're going through that moment where you're feeling low, you can always take it out and read through your achievements and remind yourself of your successes. You do have the confidence to do what you can do. You do have the abilities. When it comes to communicating, remember, communication is key, okay? Speak slowly with an audible voice. Calmness portrays confidence. Mind your body language. Remember to intentionally use your body language to feel more confident. Stand tall. Remember, have eye contact. You can even mirror the body language sometimes of the interviewer. However, you need to know when to do it and when not to. Next, you can think about booking a coaching session. There are a number of us here, myself and my colleague Mira's on the line, who can help you. We can help you practice building your self-confidence. We can help you with the SWOT analysis. We can help you with interview practice and even with questions and answers and feedback. So do use us. We're here. We're a resource provided by Udacity. When you're in the workplace, Spread positive energy by setting the tone from the start. Nothing worse than being in a place for 2 to 3 months and then starting to ask questions. At that point, people will be wondering why you didn't ask things before. People will be thinking, you should know this by now. Don't let your lack of confidence hold you back from finding out what really goes on in the workplace, what you need to know to do your job well and excel. So that's going to be the end of this presentation. And now that we've drawn to an end, I'd like you all to share your thoughts. Let us know if you've got any question and answers about building self-confidence. Feel free to drop a line or two about your experiences. Have you got any interviews coming up? Just give us your thoughts. Mira, are there any questions coming in? Yep, so we've got about another 10 minutes left. So let us know. I will unmute.
Okay, we have the first question from Mohammed. How to say no to people? He's asking you and me. So go ahead, Jackie. Jackie, I think you've muted yourself. Jackie?
Apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Apologies, everyone.
No, tech can play. Yeah, tech can play games. Yes.
So yeah, how to say no. That's always a challenging one. There is a polite way to say no in terms of, I guess are you talking about in terms of saying no to doing a job? It's always good to give an explanation as to why you can't do something. Is it because you've got too much on your plate? And therefore, in order to do something well, you don't have capacity to do it? In that case, I think you just need to be able to demonstrate some context around it. Rather than just saying, no, can't do it, give a bit of a background explanation. Why can't you do it? Well, you've got a number of things on your task. You might not be able to do it now, but when can you do it? When can you fit it in? Always learn to try and phrase a no into a positive. I can't do it now. I can't do it this week, but I'm likely to have capacity to do it next week or at such and such a time. Or I can't do it, but I'll see if one of my other colleagues has capacity to look at it for you. Or I will put you in contact with somebody who might be able to help you. So, there are always ways to start thinking about how can I turn this which might look like a negative by saying no straight away into a positive. Okay. Does that help?
Okay, Jackie, we have another question which says, do you have a personal experience with career change? This question is from Ken.
So Ken, yes, I myself have a personal experience. At the beginning, I'm not sure if you were already admitted to the room, but I have been working in the legal field as a lawyer for over 15 years. And even within the legal field, I've changed different expertise or areas of niche. So I've worked in regulatory, I've worked with corporates, doing high-end banking transactions, and then I've also worked with consumers. And even within the legal sector, the transition is very different. I've had to learn, and I would say one of the key things is learning to deal with different stakeholders. What's your stakeholders' expectations when you join an organization and you transition? Because the way how you're used to dealing and handling people in your previous role can be very, very different in your new role. So learn to understand their perspective. What are they used to dealing with? Or how are they used to people engaging with them? Sometimes you can just pick up the phone for some people, but some people I found they didn't like that approach. They wanted me to put diary time in with them so that, we could sit down and go through things. So that's one change. And then now I don't do so much legal work. I do legal consultant work from time to time, but now I've transitioned or morphed into a full-time business and development coach. And my skill sets now I'm having to use they're transferable. I'm using a lot of my transferable skills, but they are very different. I'm not in the advising field anymore. Before I would advise people. Being a coach is a different perspective. You, for example, as a student, or the coach is the one who leads the agenda. I'm not leading the agenda anymore. So, you know, it is very much, you know, a learning process. Even for me, I've been through that learning process, learning to engage with different people, meet their expectations. And that's what I did. I went out and I spoke to as many people as I could when I first joined, because people are also looking at you when you join. They're looking at you and thinking, well, what do they know? Will they fit in? You know, are they approachable? Are they easy to get on with? Will this be challenging for us? So remember, a lot of people that when you're going into an area, a lot of people are also might be nervous or edgy, a new person joining a team. So there are expectations on both sides. But, you know, all I can say really is, if you've got questions and things you're concerned about, deal with them from the start. You know, set the tone yourself. Don't wait for somebody else to carve out your tone, and you know, direct your career path. You need to step out and do it for yourself.
So guys, we are getting a lot of questions here. We may not be able to cover all of them, but I'm just picking up so that each one of is different from the rest. And if we don't pick up a few, don't mind it. You can always come on the career hotline session. Every coach comes once in a week for 1 hour on Student Hub under career section to give career advice. So Jackie, another interesting question is how to stay self-confident in a situation of incivility in a workplace. Would you like to take that?
Yes, sorry, can you?
How to stay self-confident in a situation of incivility in a workplace.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes it can get quite hostile in certain environments. It's not nice. I've been into meetings where I've known that, you know, the other side or the other party we're engaging with is getting quite tense and heated. And some cross words can be said. And I've often found silence can be the best tool. So rather than just gush out and say your thoughts, it goes back to my point about being calm and saying respectfully, you know, I don't see things from your perspective. If, you know, you feel that the uncivility is being directed at you, how I would recommend approaching it is, don't say anything about it in the meeting, but after the meeting, ask to speak with the person, pull them aside and explain to them that, you know, you felt that there was, you know, a bit of friction between you, and you'd like to resolve it. If you feel that they didn't speak to you appropriately, that would be the time to tell them on a one-on-one, rather than doing it in a surrounding where other people may hear. Can often make people feel more, how should I put it, you know, can often make people's tempers fray more, and for the situation to get out of hand or more fraught. So uncivility, they aren't pleasant to deal with, but I definitely recommend knocking them on the head sooner rather than later. You may allow it to take place, you know, 1 time, 2 times, but then if you're finding it a repeated behavioral pattern, I would definitely recommend having some out time, whether it's one-to-one with that person. If you don't feel comfortable with a one-to-one, setting up a meeting with that person, between yourself and, you know, whether you feel it's at a level that you need to engage a manager in and mention it to a manager, then, you know, by all means, you know, if you feel your manager is someone that you can confide in and speak to about it, do let them know what's going on. I just don't feel that, it's unfortunate, but I don't feel that people should have to face that every day, because it totally knocks your confidence. I can see that when you're feeling that you're going into an area and you feel that somebody's going to have a barrage of things to say to you. You know, I've worked with people who have, you know, sort of given that element of fear when you go and you sit down and you think, oh, they're not in a good mood today. And what I tend to do is just focus on what I need to do and I need to get done. You know, ultimately, you need to set the tone for how you want to be seen, and not how, you know, they want to treat you.
So Jackie, as a follow-up of that question, there's a comment from Lekity saying that what if the person is your boss? So, Lekati, the rules are the same. Sorry, Jackie, I'm
No.
taking this because I've experienced this in my own life.
Okay.
The rules are the same. You just go out and have a coffee with your boss. At first, he may or she may not like it or like it. Depends on what kind of a personality he or she is. But he or she will definitely appreciate your upfrontness, your straightforwardness. And at worst, what can happen? You have got it off your heart. You are fresh again with a clear and positive mind. If this continues, if you continue to get the same experience over and over again, then this needs to go to a second level in a formal kind of a conversation. Now we have only 2 minutes left, Jackie, and we still have a couple of questions. So I'll just pick up one last question,
Okay.
which would be, again, it's Lekati's question. Can low self-esteem lead to self-confidence? Can low self-esteem lead to lack of confidence?
You know, I'd say yes, it can. You have obviously low self-confidence where, you know, you're looking at your abilities. Yeah. You know, so what can you're more concerned about what you can do. And with self-esteem, you're more concerned about what other people think about you, you know, your self-esteem. Both are often seen hand in hand. Normally, if you are building up your self-confidence, you'll often find that your self-esteem is uplifted as well. You know, with things like self-esteem, you can add certain things. So often how you dress as well on a day can affect you. So some people are, for example, are frightened to wear bold colors because they think, well, I don't want to wear red or yellow because I will stand out. Well, you know, if red or yellow makes you feel happy, you feel that it's a warming color to you, it lifts your spirits, your self-esteem, then do it. You know, it's very, very difficult when you're in a situation where you've got low confidence and low self-esteem. And, you know, it's something that you need to build up gradually, and talking to someone about it is definitely, you know, a key. Do you have someone that you feel that you can confide in? Do you, you know, another key thing I would say is find confident people. So we all know confident people. And there is a saying by a motivational speaker, John Rowe, is that you basically are the example, or you are similar to the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if there's somebody that you admire, who exudes confidence, learn to spend some time with them in their presence, because that rubs off on you. You know, is it Lekati who asked it? Lekati, you know, by all means, you know, for a deeper conversation and one-on-one with those issues, I would definitely suggest booking some time with one of the career coaches, because that's not something that's just going to go like that. It's something that, you know, you need to work on, and it needs to be tailored for you. So, you know, I'm hopefully that you've got some sessions, and do please book a session with a career coach, or you can email one of us confidently afterwards. You've got Mira here and myself. So, you know, please do reach out to us.
So that brings us to the end of this webinar. Jackie, we are already overshot by a couple of minutes, and there are some students who are whose questions have not been answered. Please feel free to come on the career hotline chat. We all of us are there for 1 hour every week, and we'll be more than happy to chat and connect with you all again. Over to you, Jackie, for the end note.
Okay, for the end note, so just move to the last slide, because I just wanted to thank you all for attending today's webinar, and wanted to let you all know about the next upcoming webinar. So on the 7th of January, there's going to be a webinar by Brett Ellis, one of our colleagues, and he's going to be talking about New Year, New Job Search Strategy. So I'm sure a lot of you are going to be interested in that. So please, if you're able to, join Brett on 7th of January. Okay, and thank you all very much for taking the time here. I hope you found this session helpful. You know, please feel free to, like Mira has said, you know, we all take time, an hour in the chat room. Both myself and Mira are in there at different times on a Thursday. So today's actually our chat room day. Mira's already done hers. I won't be doing mine today because mine is during this time slot, but I will be in the chat room tomorrow. From 2 to 3 p.m. British Standard Time. I'm actually located in the UK. So, you know, please forward some of your, your comments, your questions. I'll be in the chat room and hopefully I can answer a lot more for you all then. So thank you, Tamira, my co-host, has been fantastic helping me along with this webinar. And thank you very much all, and all the best for 2020.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. Have a great year ahead.
Thank you. Bye-bye.